Welcome to episode 274 of Friars on the Farm. I'm Donovan, and with me is Roy.
Oh, Donovan, after this last series, the inaugural Vedder Cup, it had me asking myself, why go?
Why go home?
Oh yeah, we were all excited, and then it just fell flat, man. It was okay. It was fun with the songs that they were playing, since I am a child of the 90s and the
Right.
80s and that era of music, and I know everything that they were playing, so we were all singing along to it. But I mean, the whole thing's kind of contrived. It started out as this joke among the bloggers
Yeah.
like 15 years ago, and it was funny back then. But now the MLB has just kind of wrapped their tentacles around it. It feels forced.
Right.
And they kept like putting these factoids up on the screen, like, oh, here's why we're doing this. Like, if you have to put that much work into explaining why something is a thing, maybe it shouldn't be a thing.
Right. Absolutely. And it was more fun when it was just like, Bernie Wilson going Better Cup, whoever wins the Better Cup or a couple of the other people, personalities on X. My brother was watching the game. He's like, what's the Better Cup? I'm like, dude, it started online. This dude, kind of grew traction on social media. And, it's fun for all of us on X and the Padres Twitter to kind of talk about it. But when you have a cup now, and even if we would have won this series, there still would have been like, it's kind of lame. Vedder is a Cubs fan.
Mhm. A
And
massive Cubs fan. Like he put
major
out a
Cubs
live
fan.
album with the Cubs logo on the front, kind of Cubs fan. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
It's not
calling
even
it,
like he's a down low Cubs fan. Like he's born and like he bleeds Cubby blue.
yeah. And so, whatever. It really sucked to watch the team just kind of crap the bed this weekend.
On the bright side, maybe it just takes all the air out of that.
I,
So we've got some injury updates for you this week. We are going to talk about what happened this weekend, what's been going on recently with the Padres. We are going to bid farewell to a dear friend of the podcast, John Nolan. It's not a farewell forever, but he's signing off as TinCaps broadcaster and moving on to greener pastures, and we're proud of him. But we need to take a moment for him, and then we've got our affiliate rundown as usual.
Absolutely. Hey, but first, guys, we are selling the shirts to support the Child Crisis Center of El Paso. The Zamo shirts. For the first time, I'm not wearing it. I'm wearing the Storm shirt. We'll have the link to the shirt in the description on Instagram and everywhere else, and in the episode. Please go out and buy the shirt. All the money that after the bills are paid, the rest of that money goes towards the Child Crisis Center. And you heard Edward when he was on here. He really appreciates any kind of effort that they get from anyone. And we'd really appreciate it. And it's a cool shirt, dude. I'm like, I dig the shirt. And I've going to say this now, but I have yet to go to a baseball game, a Padre game this year. Simply just, it just hasn't really worked out that much. And but I'm dying to be like too cool for school with my Zamo shirt at the Padre game. Now I just wear it around town and people are, it's not even a thing. It's like, whatever. So you too can be cool if you buy the shirt and wear it to the Padre game, or wear it to a Storm game, or wear it to wherever you are watching baseball or visiting baseball stadiums.
And you'll be supporting a very fine charity.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to our Major League Minute. As we noted, this was the inaugural Vedder Cup this weekend with the Mariners. Kyle Glazer pointed out that the Padres went 0 for 21 with runners in scoring position
That sounds
during the
familiar.
Mariners series. The Mariners weren't a whole lot better with runners in scoring position, but when you go 0 for, it's kind of hard to get runners across. So one could say they entered the series feeling like a glorified G. Then, with runners on base, they hit like an elderly woman behind the counter in a small town.
Yeah.
Surely they are happy to put this series in their rearview mirror.
But then again, there's always the evolution.
Mm-hmm. That's what's coming next.
And this is a part of the season. And we hate to get swept. It's going to happen again. We're going to sweep teams. It's just a part of the season that happens. But when it happens with the flair and the pomp of a Vedder Cup, or even, the funny thing is with the Angels series before, you could be playing bad baseball and win games. Like the walk-off homer with Tatis was fantastic, but walk-offs are,
oh my God, yes.
Walk-offs are kind of like, you're not winning the game. You should have won the game innings before. So I think we got out of winning to 2 out of 3 from the Angels, kind of just by the skin of our teeth. And you can kind
Right.
of,
And then the Angels went and swept the Dodgers.
yeah. And
So I
so,
mean the Padres didn't lose any traction in the division race in a sense.
yeah, but we lost a little bit when the Diamondbacks did well, the Giants did well. But it's funny. What are we not even barely a month into the season? We're already scoreboard watching. It's funny. And this happens with Liddy. Liddy's like, any way she can stick it to the Dodger fans. And this is usually it by just being in first place or ahead of them. She tries to, I'm like, look, it's a long season. We're not scoreboard watching yet.
Okay, I need to get Liddy's opinion on something. I've noticed that today, like there's been a growing trend, but today Mets Twitter seems to have turned on Juan Soto. Like people are like they're fed up with Juan Soto. Has Liddy been paying a whole lot of attention? What is her take on Juan Soto, the New York Met?
My wife is a lifelong born, raised in New York. Was a Mets fan growing up. She's a diehard Padre fan now. Every time we play the Mets, it's the Padres over the Mets. No, she hasn't. But I watched a little bit of the game this weekend against the Yankees, and just like us, he's this expectation of him to hit a 5-run home run every time up to bat, to play over the top Gold Glove defense when he ball was hit over his head, fine, it was smoked, but he didn't hit the cutoff man, and he just and thank God Lindor was there, or if the ball could have scooted off, they could have scored more runs. His defense is starting to show up, and when you're playing the Yankees, it's going to be even doubly, kind of microscope is going to be on there, and as we did with Juan Sutter too, walks are great. We want you to hit 5-run homers all the time, every time, with no runners on base. Like, you have to do this, and if they lose, and they lost pretty badly, the game I watched, you turn on them, but we have to remember, and this is the thing about this getting swept over the season. It's a long season. We're going to look back in September, and if we're a game behind or a few games back, we could have took one of these games. There's going to be so many of those games throughout the season that we can't pick just one. That is the reason why we're 2 games behind, or we're only a game up, so it's just how the season goes. I'm glad we don't have, well, have we had any of that look on Padres Twitter going on with any of these guys?
Well, okay, so Luis Ariz started off with that crazy hitless streak. What was he, 0 for 19 or something like that? And everybody's like, I just pulled it up. He's batting 297 on the season. Like, yeah. And he's never going to be a slugger. He's not going to be an RBI guy. He is just a get on base and move him over kind of guy. Yep. So people have mixed opinions on that. Really, what people are turning on has more to do with roster construction. That you've got a fairly weak spot at catcher. You've got one catcher that can hit a little bit, another catcher that can't hit it all. And then at left field, there's clearly a big question mark in left field.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you can look at individual players, and like Bogart's got off to a slow start. Now he's been hitting a little bit lately. Merrill took off like wildfire, and that's the next note I've got here. He's got 1 hit in his last 20 plate appearances.
Yeah.
Is that a sophomore slump? What do you think?
No, I don't think it's a sophomore slump. I think it's just, just the ebb and flow of the game, a ebb and flow of the season. Like, it's just 1 for 20. Ted Williams, I don't know if he ever went 1 for 20, but like, really good baseball players go into these little mini slumps, and 20 plate appearances, what, 5 games, 6 games tops? And that's just what happens. But when you're losing those games, it was all fine, when we're winning those games. So if he was, hitting 1 for 20 and we're winning these series, or, maybe not even getting swept, I think no one cares. But when you start losing and you lose a 3-game series over the weekend where everyone has time to pay attention, you start nitpicking, just like everyone goes after Juan Soto with the Mets. It just happens all over, where you start looking for excuses, and people got a lot of time on their hands on social media. And I just think, it's ebb and flow of the season. Where are we going? Where are they now? They're in Toronto. Toronto's going to be tough. We're going into a tough part of the schedule, because after the Toronto, we go play the Braves. So we need to start playing, the teams need to start playing really good baseball in order to make it, make some hay, or at least, tread water on this road trip.
Right. And we got to give a little bit of credit to the Mariners. They're a pretty darn good team. They've got very good pitching, and they've been hitting a bunch this year.
Yeah.
So they might be one of the better teams in the AL. It's little early to tell.
Yeah.
But since we mentioned left field, I did want to move this up in the agenda here. Dennis Lin tweeted out today, after trading Connor Joe last week for minor league right-hand reliever Andrew Moore and cash considerations, the Padres are parting with another left field option. They placed Oscar Gonzalez on unconditional release waivers to allow him to pursue an opportunity with the Japanese team. So Oscar Gonzalez got a quick look. I felt like he looked a little overmatched.
Yeah.
His hitting style doesn't seem to fit the philosophy of what they're trying to do as a team. So a lot of big swings, a lot of undisciplined at bats, and he's not a very good defender in left field. So he's clearly not an answer for the big league team. And if he has an opportunity to go make some bucks overseas, I guess let the guy go make some hay. Because you've got Tirso Ornelas, you've got Jonathan Perlaza that's doing okay. But as I think AJ Cassavell noted, I don't think the solution at left field is in the Padres organization right now.
No, and we're Club Tirso, we're Team Tirso. Is he the solution? Is he a fourth outfielder? We need, this is why I thought they got Connor Joe and Jason Hayward, or at least one of those guys, to ease him in, to have him in the matchups, kind of ease him into the major leagues. Same thing with Luis Camposano. These players need time to develop in Major League Baseball to find out if they're not just 4A players. Campy went back. He was their player of the week in El Paso. He is crushing the ball. But once again, this is AAA. You're playing in elevation. You're playing in against pitchers that aren't major league pitchers. And there's something to be said for once you go from AAA to the bright lights of the show. And that's where it makes a difference, where, you want to do well. It's higher level of competition, and they don't make as many mistakes. And the pressure is on you to perform. So I think there's there's a little bit of a disconnect with, not disconnect, it's better competition. And you better stick to your approach and pick a lane at the plate, and don't deviate from it. So, having, do you bring Campy up? Do you release one of the two catchers on the roster right now and just go, okay, this is what we got, and hope he kind of puts it together? The defense for him, do we keep Maldonado because he is so well with the rotation and all the pitchers, and bring him Campy to just kind of be a mix and match in a couple of days a week?
Well, they brought him up for 3 games. He went 0 for 10 and drew 4 walks. Right. But he's not there to walk. He's there to hit. And he was on fire in AAA before he came up, didn't gather a hit. He was DH only, which kind of said something to me that he didn't put on the tools of ignorance one time.
Right.
I don't know that they see him as a part of their catching core this year. And the fact that he got that audition and couldn't muster a hit, I mean, yeah, it's a brief little opportunity, but you got to make the best of the opportunities that you get.
Right. And that's absolutely. You have to hit, and this is your shot. And once again, once you step up to the show, it's all the lights are on you. So I think it creates that pressure, because as soon as Campy went down, he's mashing. So these guys are throwing meatballs. It might be 97 meatballs, but it's meatballs. And when you barrel up the ball, it's going to go. And then there's that confidence of, I can do this really well. Like, I remember when I first started playing rec ball, and this is no comparison, but just kind of give you the mindset. Like, in league, I can crush it. But several of these tournaments that I went and played in, the first few, I didn't do well because it was just a higher level of play, even at my age. It wasn't until I was there for a while and got comfortable and got a couple of hits and started kind of realizing, I could play here. Even at a rec tournament, in Phoenix or whatever, that you start to relax, and you don't take at bats. You don't worry about the last at bat. You just go out and play ball. And when it comes to Major League Baseball, there is no time for that. There's you got to figure it out, and you got to figure it out quick. I always talk about developing at the Major League level, but there's much more that they see, much more the organization sees besides the not hitting. It's what he's swinging at. It's where he's swinging. It's that, with Campy, that swing is violent. Like he looks, he's just trying to hit the cover off the ball every time he swings, and that's just his swing. You see someone like Merrill, that left-handed swing is so natural and so fluid. It doesn't look like he's swinging hard, but he's swinging hard. You know what I mean? And so, it's just tough. Maybe those guys are 4A players. Maybe Tirso is a 4A player. Maybe Campy's a 4A player that never really reaches his potential.
Yeah, well, I don't know that the organization believes in developing at the major league level really right now when you're trying to contend for a World Series title. So Eggy would be up if Jose Iglesias wasn't on the roster. Campusano might be here if Martin Maldonado wasn't on the roster.
Right.
Tirso might be up if Jason Hayward wasn't on the roster. They brought those guys on. They signed them during spring training for a reason. That's because they can't have the patience to let a guy go 2-3 weeks without getting a hit while also making mistakes in the field. Like they need somebody to be really good at one side of the ball, and for stretches they need to be good on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it this weekend with Hayward. He had bases loaded and struck out.
Yeah,
and that's just when at that, but it's kind of a,
Yeah, no, Preller's burning up the phone lines right now trying to find somebody to play left field.
And is that what we go for during the trade deadline? And this is right in our next, the next little blurb here is Darvish is made a start in AAA. He's with the team. Howling and Waldron are rehabbing now. They're going to start rehabbing. With this pitching coming up back, and Darvish really is the kind of the key there. Do you, for the trade deadline, do you get a left fielder? Do you give up a little bit of prospect capital? We're not talking nothing big, but do you give up some prospect capital to get a couple years of a left fielder that maybe a team is willing to part with?
I think they have to. If they're serious about contending for a World Series, they've got to. And whether that means that you're trading one of your pitchers that's maybe on the fringe, or I don't want to see them trade away Cease or King, but you've got two guys that are essentially rentals. If you feel like you have the depth that you can work with somebody like that, I don't see them doing that. But you could look at somebody that maybe has a little more team control, like Stephen Kolek or Matt Waldron that's on the way back.
Right.
I don't know. But if nothing else, I like seeing these guys coming back up, and the Padres have a lot of guys with minor league options that they can send down.
Yeah.
So there's room if that's all that there is to it.
Yeah, and you don't want to, and I hate to say it, I don't want to put this in the universe, but I'm going to say it. But do you couple, a Class B player with Romeo Sanabria? Do you kind of trade some of that top of the tier, but kind of far away prospect capital to get that 2-year control left fielder, from a Pirates? I'm just throwing teams out there, or someone from the Marlins that maybe, it's controllable. I don't know, but
that's what we saw last year when they got rid of Martorella and Pauly and, all of those guys. Like that was a similar tier. Those guys were performing at AA and they were starting to look like, I feel like that's kind of on the same level of where Sanabria is kind of starting to establish himself.
Right.
He's not a prospect with a capital P. He's a right-handed hitting first baseman.
Right.
There's a certain limitation to guys like that. But the guy's clicking, and we're going to talk about him in a little bit.
Absolutely. And just to kind of figure out the left-handed hitting first baseman, dude, Rudy Tellez, that guy's usually, he hits bombs every once in a while, but he just mashed this weekend.
Yeah, he looked like he was playing in the softball league.
Dude, he looks like a softball player. All right, but let's move on to the minor league minute. So baseball, the prospect list are coming back up. You got MLB Pipeline, you got Baseball America have updated their prospect list. Number 3, arrow up, stock rising, on fire, Leo Vries.
He's been checking every box so far this year. The guy's just been on fire at the plate. He's showing good plate discipline. He's showing excellent coverage, and he's hitting for power. In single A, that's where guys learn a little bit more about discipline,
Right.
approach. And then on defense, he makes the electric plays. He's working on cleaning up the plays right at him. But I mean, the sky's the limit as far as talent goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was a little aggressive. He's still very young and it's still high A. But having a couple of really good games that he has had, and it's more than just scouting the stat line. They see the approach, they see the maturity in the at bats from someone so young, and they can project that. And he is ticking all those boxes. And I just say, let that kid cook. Same thing with Ethan Salas at number 29. Had a little bit of setback. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But like, kid's so young at such a high level of performing the way he's performing. Let him go. Let him go. Let him just. We don't need to rush these guys. Let him stay all year. You might have to spend next year again in Double A after being out for what it's going to be a couple months. But these pros, the scouts see what they see, and it's more than just a stat line that we see in the occasional game that we watch. They see the whole package, and that goes from what he does pregame to what he does during the game, and the way he calls a game and runs a pitching staff.
Right. So Ethan Salas, both Baseball America and MLB Pipeline had him at number 8 before last season. And now Pipeline has him at 29 and Baseball America has him at 46. So they both have their doubts. And we're going to talk about that in a moment here, where Vries, they both have him at top 10. So Baseball America has him at number 6. So I think it's safe to say he's a consensus top 10 MLB prospect right now. And that's exciting. That also tells me that the Padres, they've got to hold on to him at least until he gets up to Double A. I mean, you don't trade a guy that has that kind of prospect helium before he gets to that advanced level, and you really see what the guy can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And if he goes through he goes through this year, hitting for average, a little bit of power, gets a little bit better, and then starts next year in Double A and starts off strong and starts having a good year. That's just going to it's going to reaffirm what everyone thinks of this kid and thinks he's going to be a superstar. Do I think he's going to go from Double A next year to the major leagues? I don't think so. We don't need him to come up next year anytime. We need that kid to develop at a slow, leisurely pace, at his own pace. And how many coaches have we talked to and they talk about, he'll tell us when he's ready. He'll show, he'll tell us when he's ready by the way he's playing, by the way he acts. So let those guys continue to develop. We'll see what happens with Ethan with this injury. But it's great to see that there's some believers out there in the scouting world that are behind Leo Vries and Ethan Salas. And a lot of them, sometimes Ethan Salas not having the greatest year, but a lot of times it's other guys moving up. So like, if these guys, it's like the stocks, sometimes they're up, sometimes they're down. So maybe mid-season, I would say mid-season, if Ethan was playing, maybe he's up a little bit more. But it's a lot like that. It's like the stock market. We talk about it. It's up, down, stocks down, helium up, helium down. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately, these lists are for talking points. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything to front offices. They have their own evaluation systems. But let's get to what's going on with Ethan Salas. So, Baseball America came out with an article: 7 top 100 prospects facing concerns early in 2025, and this was before the news dropped that we're going to get to in a moment. So JJ Cooper says Ethan Salas remains one of the most difficult prospects to evaluate. He hit 267, 350, 487 in the California League with 9 home runs in 48 games in 2023. Since then, he's hit 206, 285, 304 in 506 plate appearances at high A, and then a paltry 183, 315, 217 in 74 plate appearances in Double A. He's hit 4 home runs in those 139 games. So it points out that he's an excellent defender, but then he points out that he's not really hitting the ball with a lot of authority. He's not hitting the ball for power. But then flip side, he's playing at age 17, 18. So he's the age of the guys that just got drafted last year. Maybe some of the guys that'll be in the draft this year out of high school. So you kind of have to meter your expectations based on age versus competition level. On top of that, he's a catcher, so he's got 3 times the workload of any other player on the field. But then Mad Friars reported on May 12th that it was announced that the Padres' number 2 prospect, Ethan Salas, will be sidelined until July due to a stress reaction in his lower back. He was originally injured back on April 17th. After missing the following several games, he was placed on the 7-day IL on Saturday, April 26th. I don't know that that necessarily explains the early season struggles.
Right.
But it is going to give him extended time off. So you're talking about helium. There's no helium in that balloon. He
Right.
is getting some R&R. He's going to be in the trainer's room getting a bunch of work done. I mean, we saw how long Tatis was out with a stress reaction in his quad. And so I have no idea how that timeline might compare to a stress reaction in the back. But I mean, a catcher with all of the mobility that they need, I mean, you want to give him plenty of time to come back. So you make sure that he's nice and healthy.
Yeah, I agree. Don't need to rush him back. Take this time to be a reset, get strong, get healthy. And, he's not just sitting in, he's not sitting in the clubhouse in Peoria. They're actually working with him. They're going to keep the development, but it's going to be more on the, this is what you're doing here. As he gets healthy, as he's back in Peoria, he can do a reset. He can review what's going on so far this year and maybe make some changes, or maybe even just kind of stick with his approach and just wait till it starts working. So we'll see about how it goes and as it progresses the season.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up numbers. I'm not sure how to find the date for the reset that he had last year.
Right.
It was reported that he went back to San Diego. They made a couple little mechanics tweaks, but it was really more of an approach reset.
Right.
And he came out and hit well the rest of that summer. Didn't do so well in the ACL, but at least that showed that he has the ability to make an adjustment and for it to stick.
Yeah.
And so now this year, like you said, on top of the conditioning work that he's going to be doing just to get his body strong again, I'm sure he's going to be putting in a lot of time to try to work on what hasn't been working and get that back on track.
Absolutely. All right, so that's it. Let's take a break here real quick. We'll come back and we'll have the affiliate rundown. Boop. Get back. Do you ever do ACL and painting the corners?
I'll do ACL and then
Okay.
you take Lakey.
Okay. 3, 2.
All right, we're going to start off in the ACL. Usually we skip ahead, but Victor Figueroa has been doing something crazy. So according to Matt Friars, last week, Padres prospect Victor Figueroa hit a preposterous 632, 667, 1.316. That's not his OPS. That's his slugging.
Yeah.
He improved on that this week, going 11 for 16 with a double, a triple, 3 homers, and 3 walks, good for a 688, 737, 1.438 line. It's like a good week for 2004 Barry Bonds.
Right.
It'd be a surprise if he's in the ACL to try again next week. So Victor Figueroa, this might be the first time we're really talking about him. He's a lefty hitting first baseman. He's listed at 6'5", 240, so a mountain of a man. Drafted in the 18th round last year out of Florida Southwestern State College. So JUCO bandit. It might be a nice late round surprise if he can keep mashing like this, because that is just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It's the same thing. What is Florida and the JUCOs that are getting guys like Romeo Sanabria, Victor Figueroa, with and to be able to hit that well, it's not just about the level of pitching. It's guys throwing that many strikes to be able to hit it. So when he's getting strikes, he's hitting it. And that's the big thing, is because we've talked about it in the past where ACL is like 4 hits Batman's, 12 walks between the two teams, 7 errors, and it's just like to get that many strikes to hit is a feat in and of its own. And then to make connect and hit the way he's hitting is almost bigger the story that he's getting that many strikes than actually the work getting done.
Right, because we like to think that the lower the level, the easier the pitching is to hit. But I mean, everybody in the pros is nasty. So there's guys in the ACL that are throwing 100 plus. There are guys with a sweeper that goes like this and a changeup that falls off the table. It's just most of them don't know where it's going most of the time. They haven't harnessed in that command yet. But yeah, just being able to find enough pitches to hit to be able to stack up that kind of a line is crazy.
All right, so another quick let's get on with like painting the corners. Kash Mayfield, he struck out the side in the first inning this last week, then came out for the second, threw his warm-up pitches. He felt shoulder discomfort as he finished up his warm-up pitches. His catcher, Victor Duarte, immediately came out from behind the plate after his first pitch and called for the trainer. Mayfield exited the game after a brief conversation with the Storm staff. They want to be uber conservative with any kind of injury, any kind of discomfort. So the 20-year-old is arguably the top pitching prospect in the organization and has pitched better than his stat line would indicate. So he came out. The update came today. He has not been placed on the injured list, and the organization has expressed optimism that he'll be back to throwing soon. So let it rest. Give us some time, see how he feels, and then go from there. Don't need to, particularly in A ball, you don't need to have these guys on the injured list. I don't think you can just have them not play for a while, or even so they can be sent back to Arizona, even being on the roster and then come back. But disheartening, but being with an abundance of caution, just let them get healthy. There's no rush for these guys.
Well, so coming out of high school, you're used to pitching once a week, and you're doing light work in between. These guys aren't hitting the gym hardcore every single day. They're not around baseball every single day,
right,
quite like they are in the pros. And so I think it's reasonable that after the first couple months of full-on pro activities that something pops up. And maybe that's all it is. Maybe just tweak something doesn't feel right. Let's hope that it's just something minor.
Absolutely. So moving on, Boston Bateman, who was scratched from his regular Thursday start because he was under the weather, everyone's getting sick, and made an previous appearance on what normally would have been a bullpen day. So this last week, the big lefty tossed 2 innings, striking out 5 in 2 innings, but allowing a pair of earned runs. So there's the development, there's the carrot, there's the stick, there's the great things about Bateman is he just throws hard. But you throw hard, and even in professional baseball, they will find barrels. But Luis Gutierrez followed him and turned in a dominant 6-inning performance. 8 strikeouts to pick up his first victory on the year. The 21-year-old had gotten through 5 2/3 frames in 2 of his first 5 outings. But Sunday was the first time that he was able to finish his 6th inning. Gutierrez allowed only 1 run unearned and 1 hit and 1 walk. Opponents are hitting just $1.89 on the year. But after the Venezuelan lefty dialed in his command last year, he's walking only 12% of the opponents so far this season.
I was trying to pull this up here. So Luis Gutierrez has pitched in 7 games. He started 3 of them. So he's kind of serving swingman duty a little bit. I'm sure it was prescribed that Bateman was going to go out. He was going to have an abbreviated appearance, and then Goody, you're going to go in there and go as deep as you can. But just to come in relief and throw 5 2/3 innings, that's always commendable.
Absolutely. And those guys, there is prescriptions with these guys. So maybe sometimes he's throwing 5 innings. Maybe he's all right. Maybe felt some discomfort or whatever and give him the day off. But, in A-ball, there's schedules. And then there's the schedule, essentially, which is whenever someone goes down, someone like a Boston Bateman or even a Kash Mayfield, other guys step up and they bring them over from the desert, or they have guys that are in the bullpen or on the roster that can pick up the slack.
Speaking of which, I need to take a look at their schedule and see when they've been pitching Luis Patino. I feel like he's been going every 6th day. Oftentimes the starters on a single A team, they'll be going the same, every Thursday, it's going to be this guy. But I think Patino's been staggering that by 1 day. I need to try to triangulate and see when he's going to pitch in Lake Elsinore again and see if I can go find him.
Yeah, I need to get up there too. I didn't put it on here, but he did pitch earlier this week, 3 innings. I think he, did well. It's more about with him. It's more about just getting the pitch limit in, just getting your pitches in. The results kind of don't matter. Obviously they matter, but they don't really matter. It's more about getting healthy. I want to make it up there just to go, hey, how are you, man? You're a grown-up now. Like, he's wearing the pit. You can't recognize him. Like, before you see this kid, and he's kind of, he's fresh-faced, young, bouncing around there with Mackenzie Gore. Now he's like almost like a minor league veteran, obviously a minor league veteran. But with a beard and he's all grown up, and even Liddy the other day was like, he's all grown up. I'm like, yeah, he's little Patino's grown up to from baby rattlesnake to rattlesnake.
Yeah, he still has some of that energy in him.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on the screws. Cobb Hightower had the best game of his young pro career early last week, setting a new high with 3 hits, including his first double. He also drew a walk while hitting out of the leadoff spot. The 20-year-old has looked impressive thus far with the Storm. Overall, he's hitting 259, 412. That's a good on base. 370 slug with 7 walks. He struck out just 4 times in 34 plate appearances. Hightower has displayed some impressive plate discipline in his first 9 games, posting a 19.5% walk rate while making contact on 88.6% of his swings at balls in the zone and a whiff rate under 22%. So good plate discipline. That's the foundation that you start from. A good hit tool, a good eye at the plate. And he's only 20. The power is going to come. Remember how long we were talking about when is the power going to start showing up for Jackson Merrill?
Yeah. Yeah, and it showed up later, and then we got to the majors, and it just didn't stop. But moving on to Kavara Tears, I have to tell on myself again. I just haven't had the time to watch as many games that I have in the past, and this year is no exception to that. I'm not getting to as many games on MLB and MiLB. But Kavara Tears is a kid that I've been trying to keep an eye on, and he is a little bit older for the league, but he is tearing it up. The 4th rounder is hitting 318 with a 400 WOBA for a WOBA and an 892 OPS in his last 11 games. He's doing really well for the level. I'm still getting used to professional baseball. Like it's still professional baseball. So he's hitting really well. I think he'll probably stay there for most of the season, if not all the season, unless more people move up. But I think he'd be one of the first people that does move up. Gotta just contradict myself in one sentence. Once after the All-Star break and players start kind of moving up.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the draft, and then all that stuff happens, and you start seeing a little percolation. And I think he's one of those guys that's going to move first. Like you said, he's hitting well, but he's also a little bit older for the level. All right, so let's take it over to Fort Wayne. Another college guy, Tyson Neighbors. For Midwest League pitchers who've thrown at least 10 innings, Tyson Neighbors has the highest K rate, ranks 2nd in strikeouts per 9, 2nd in swing and strike rate. His 27 strikeouts are 4th among Midwest League relievers. His K rate is currently the highest ever for a Fort Wayne pitcher who's logged 10 plus innings with data back to 2006. He'd struck out 45% of the batters he's faced. So, I mean, you're talking about somebody moving up quick. Here's a guy that was a reliever in college. Yep. He has the build of a major league reliever already. He's got that thick build already. And so if he's got the makeup and the off-field stuff and all that's checked out, I think he can punch his ticket pretty much anytime now.
Absolutely. And it's funny with him. Well, teams are starting to draft just bullpen guys, like you saw that last year with Kevin Kopps, but other organizations aren't just going for the starters and if he doesn't work out, we'll make him a bullpen guy. They're going for guys that are bullpen guys already. And with Tyson Neighbors, it's high A, but he is checking every box there so far. I mean, striking out 40%, 45%, almost 50% of the guys he's playing. And yeah, it's high A, but still, it's high A. These guys are going to barrel the ball if you throw it down. So he's breaking it up, and he's a red ass too. So that's what we love about him as well.
Yeah, Ben Joyce comes to mind. He was drafted out of the University of Tennessee, and he was drafted in 2023, and then 2024 he made his major league debut with the Angels. He just had shoulder surgery, unfortunately, but I mean, he was able to come in and make an impact right away. Just power righty, dominant reliever. And so, I mean, I'm not saying that Tyson Neighbors has that kind of smoke, but I could see him making his way up very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's move on. Talking about guys that are moving up, Miguel Mendez immediately made a huge impression in his first start. The Dominican native struck out 7 over 5 scoreless innings. Most impressively, he did not walk a batter while only allowing 3 base runners. He topped out at 97 and showed a really good slider that had Cub batters flailing at all day. Clearly, the new level didn't phase a 22-year-old who now has 25 strikeouts and 16 1/3 innings on the year. His second start was
when we start talking about players making a new level, we need to bring in the Pantera breakdown
All
from that
right.
song, New Level.
I don't know this. I was wristband. That's the only. I don't even. Yeah.
Oh my God, you gotta listen. You gotta put it on your car and freaking crank it. And it gets to this point which is oh my
I also
God.
don't want us. I also don't want us to get flagged. So that's we can't have that on here. Um, so his second start was a mixed bag on a rainy Friday. It was kind of crappy all week in Fort Wayne, tossing 3 innings before the rain came and ended his night. He allowed a pair of earned runs on 4 hits, striking out 5. He did not walk a batter, and that's huge. Anything else, not walking batters is huge. The 22-year-old has pitched well in 19 and a third innings across 5 starts between the Storm and the TinCaps, posting a 3.26 ERA with 30 strikeouts and just 4 walks. Four walks.
Eric Yost is having a solid season. He picked up his first win of the season on last Sunday, with 5 2/3 innings of 1 run ball, lowering his ERA to 1.86. And then yesterday, he didn't allow a run until the 6th inning when he gave up a 2-run double.
He was throwing a no-hitter until that inning. And I watched the inning, and it was just, oh my God, it just got ugly. He nub here, air there, and it rolled downhill. And then they took him out, and then it was an 8-run inning.
Let me guess, you flipped it on at the start of the 6th inning, huh?
Right. It was just, I'm like, okay,
It's your fault. It's your fault. You're the jinx.
It is, you know.
All right, let's keep it moving. All right, on the screws. After lighting the world on fire the first 4 weeks of the season, Leo Vries was human, going 5 for 3 with a double, 2 walks, and 8 strikeouts. Despite the down week, El Mutante is still second in the league with a .519 slugging percentage.
Yeah. Once again, it's the ebb and flow of the season. There's development there, and it happens to everyone, even the Wundakun.
Well, consistency is the hardest thing to find in this game.
Yeah, and talking about consistency, let's move on over to Rossman Verdugo. He continues to find barrels. He leads the Midwest League with 8 home runs this season. I saw him hit number 8 this last week. The number 24 prospect, number 24 Padres prospect, went 3 for 3 Thursday with 2 homers. It's his 4th 2-run home run game for a TinCap this season, and the 2nd for Verdugo. He also leads the league in ISO 294, a stat measuring raw power, and is 2nd in extra base hits with 19 and total bases of 68, 3rd in slugging at 540, and 8th in RBIs with 23.
Once again, do you know what his prior single season home run high is? It's 10.
Wow. Yes. So
I'm about to just blast through that.
Right. I saw the average a little bit low in the average, so we want to see more average. We want to see more consistency with putting the ball in play. But hey, if the power's coming, the power will come, the stroke, everything else will come after it. Maybe.
I hope so.
You know who else has been hot? Nerwillian Cedeno. He has been hitting up as well. He raised his batting average 50 points from last year to 268, while his K rate has dropped from 26.4 to 17.9. I watched a lot of him last year and the year before in Elsinore, and it was one of those guys like, oh God, if you can put it together. And this year he seems to have put it together. And when you put it together in A-ball, and if you can continue doing that, there's a big future for him. And yeah, he's just been tearing it up this year.
Well, and he's doing it while he's learning a new position. He's playing center field for the first time. He's been a second base shortstop this whole time.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, taking it on to San Antonio, painting the corners. For the week of May 6th through 11th, Braden Nett made 2 strong starts on the week, delivering arguably his best start of the 2025 season on Sunday. The 23-year-old right-hander worked 5 scoreless innings, allowing 2 hits and a walk while punching out 5. His arsenal was on full display as he generated 14 whiffs, good for a 40% whiff rate on the afternoon. Nett's fastball once again displayed excellent vertical ride while sitting 95 to 97 miles an hour most of the day and topping out at 98. So he's consistently just sitting high 90s.
Yeah.
He overpowered MLB Pipeline's number 9 prospect Sebastian Walcott all afternoon, punching him out on 3 separate occasions. There's a lot more to this, but I'm just going to skip ahead and say Braden Nett is kicking butt and taking names. And the arrow is pointing up big time on him. Yeah. He's not walking that many people. He posted a .87 ERA and a 1.69 FIP on a 28.6% K rate and a 33% whiff rate, all while walking just 4.8% of the batters he faced. The walk rate has been the challenge for him.
Yep.
And so him getting that under control is a huge thing. It was noted before the season, one of the Mad Friars asked in an interview about his head whack, that when he would pitch, his head would dip markedly while he was delivering the ball. It's a term that scouts use when they're talking about maybe something that's detrimental to a pitcher's delivery.
Right.
And he's worked in the offseason to reduce that, hopefully in the interest of improving his command.
And there it is. You're starting to see a little bit of it right now. And remember, it's a full season. You have a whole season from this kid. He is a pop-up. Now he's a pop-up prospect because he was an undrafted free agent. I mean, when we talked to him, 2 years ago, talking about fresh off the farm, fresh off the mound, like he had not really pitched that much. But he was an undrafted free agent. We liked what we saw in the Arizona Fall League. And he has just blown it up this season. And it's one of those, here's the thing about AJ Preller's staff when it comes to minor league talent and finding these guys. The scouting department, they find these guys. Your Victor Figueroas, your Luis Patinos are more international, but to find these guys in the middle of nowhere. He lives. Where is he? He's in like Lebanon. Is it Lebanon?
Midwest.
Yeah, he's Illinois. Like he's in some small town. I remember talking to his mom. His mom's like, "Yeah, we're so far away. We're nothing but farm around us."
Missouri,
yeah,
Troy, Missouri. I always get him and Cole Puplum confused because we talked to them back to back, and Cole was up in Wisconsin, I think.
That's right. We're talking about cheese curds with Cole.
Yeah, they were both talking about Culver's cheese curds. I still need to try those sometime.
I tried them. I was at some event and I tried them and I'm like, this is what everyone's all happy about. Like, it's just like fried. It's not even cheese. It's just like, it wasn't impressive, but they were telling me, these people that were from the West, you got to try it here. You got to try it there. I'm like, I'm okay. Well, if I ever make it there, I'll try it.
I'm going to tell Braden and Cole Puplum that you said that.
You just send me some good cheese curds. Maybe it needs a sauce or something. But let's move on. So batting around for the week of 6th through the 11th, Brandon Valenzuela continues to see the ball exceptionally well. He should be in AAA. We know this. We'll see as the season moves on. Was Sully gone? Maybe there's a chance for him to move up. But the 24-year-old has stayed locked in, going 6 for 17 with 2 doubles, a home run, and 5 walks in 5 games this last 2 weeks ago. Venezuela posted a 235 WRC plus, a 522 WOBA, and a 1.169 OPS. His plate discipline has been excellent since April 20, posting a 13.7% walk rate over his last 17 games. But yet, he wasn't done. On May 16th, he had a career best night at the dish, recording his first 5-hit game. The switch-hitting catcher had 5 singles and drove in a pair of runs. Venezuela, who re-signed with the organization in the offseason, has a career-high 898 OPS and has been especially hot in May, smashing a 458, 527, 667 line. Whew, that's a lot of numbers. Needless to say, he's in AA simply because of roster construction. And he should be in AAA, I would think. Well, I'm sure they're holding him back to see what happens in the major league level, but he deserves to be in El Paso, moving his way up because he has nothing else to prove in AA.
I'm trying to refresh my brain on who else we have down there in El Paso. I'm trying to get to it real quick.
All right, no worries.
We got Rodolfo Duran and Cody Roberts are the other guys. And so Rodolfo Duran, he's a little older, and so it's kind of a little bit of seniority. He's 27. I think he has a cup of coffee in the majors. I may be wrong there, but anyway, he's more of a your 4A kind of depth piece. But if an opportunity opens up, I think Valenzuela moves right up. But I don't know. I feel like the Padres organization looks at development a little differently now. That guys don't need to finish in AAA. They're pulling guys up from AA if they think they're ready. And yeah, he's a catcher, but who knows if the opportunity opens up? Hey, who knows?
Absolutely.
All right, so Romeo Sanabria provided the week's most exciting hit for the Missions, crushing a walk-off 2-run home run on Saturday before unleashing a solid. Now, Mad Friars called this a 9.4 out of 10 bat flip, but this thing had style. Did you see this bat flip?
Yep. Flap,
He flipped it and then flipped it and then flipped it and then tossed it. This was like a dance routine. It was like doing the robot with the bat in his hand. Like it was something else. Okay, and then on May 17th, Marcos Castellan had a big night with 3 hits, including a 2-run home run in the 7th to left center. In his third go-around in the Texas League, Castellan's batting 294, 338, 462, finally turning it on. 4th on the squad with 55 total bases. He's been especially dominant on the field or on the road, hitting 367, 385, 550. I've noticed he's been playing a little more first base this year. He's been playing some third base and second base, but you've been seeing him over at first as well. More gloves you get in that duffel bag, the more useful you can be to the big league team. And then finally, Joshua Mears hit a baseball 504 feet. I think the Missions claimed that it would have been like the second longest in the StatCast era if this was at the major league level.
Right.
But then the flip side, he's only hitting 174, 276, 330 on the season. So, I mean, strength is not a question with this dude. He has absolute top of the scale power. The question all along has been plate discipline, contact, and we're waiting for him to finally prove that he can put that together.
He's one of those guys where you dream on the power. You dream on the power, and this is his second stint in Double-A, and it has not gotten any better. And he is a great dude. I met him back in fantasy camp a couple of years back. And you look at him, we always talk about Tirso being this physical specimen. Like, this kid is a physical specimen. And it's easy power. It's one of the things I remember we talked to Raul Padron about. He doesn't need to swing so hard. He just needs to make contact. If you just make contact, that ball is going to go, and he's going to hit gaps. He's going to hit the ball hard and barrel it up. But it's the pitch recognition. He can't hit the slider. He can't hit the breaking stuff. And and pitchers know that. It's in the book. And I've seen some, there's been some development in that, but it just seems like, he goes back to those, it starts in the zone, but you have to recognize that though a slider starts in the zone, it's not going to finish in the zone. So you lay off those pitches. Whenever Manny gets in one of those slumps where he's, butt out swinging at things in the other batter's box, it happens all the time with Josh, and but they're dreaming on the power, so keep him in. Let him develop, and that's fine.
In the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, there's that black monolith that first the cavemen see it, and then it's floating out in space, and then that's about what Joshua Mears is built like. Yeah, like a 12-foot tall slab of granite.
Right. Nice as hell. He's a sweet kid too. He doesn't, none of that plays.
All right, well, let's take it on to El Paso. We're almost home here. Painting the corners, Jackson Wolf, friend of the podcast. Didn't have a great time his first time around in El Paso in 2024. As the 6'7" left-hander posted a 7.08 ERA in 89 innings, but this year, after starting strong in San Antonio with a 3.24 ERA in 5 starts, he earned another crack at AAA. He celebrated by posting his best outing since June, going 6 innings and only allowing 3 hits and 1 run. He struck out 6 against only a single walk. Yeah, I feel for the guys that get to come up and get a taste of the majors and then get banished off of the 40-man one way or another. But I believe in Jackson Wolf. I think he's going to fight his way back up. Maybe it'll be with the Padres this year, but I think you're going to see him put on a major league uniform one way or another soon.
Yeah, and it might not be as a starter, it might be as someone in the bullpen. Like he's got that weird delivery. And that's not only one start, he's had several starts in the PCL that he's done really well. So it was great to see that, because he got traded, released, we picked him back up, threw him in Double-A, just was cruising through Double-A, nothing else to show there, come up to the PCL, and then there's been some hiccups. It's the PCL. But all in all, he has pitched really well. And he's still just 26. So the depth that we have, and we're going to go right into Kyle Hart here in just a second. The depth that we have in AAA is really nice to have. And then with Darvish with just the pitching that we have at the major league level, has yet to pitch. Even with Kolek coming back and once again having some really good starts, the occasional clunker, but like there's lots of depth in AAA and on the major league level.
Right. This makes me think of our conversation with Tom Eshelman, that the guy makes it to the mountaintop and has the 5-star dinner and the room at the Ritz with big league team, and then he gets sent down, and guys can either hang their head in their hands and mope around and woe is me, or they can just get back on that bike and bust their butts and work their way back up. I mean, Jackson, we enjoyed our conversation with him.
Yep.
He's one of these humble guys that I know he's going to fight and claw to get back up there. But Kyle Hart. So Kyle Hart earned his first PCL win, tossing 5 solid innings for the victory. He allowed 1 unearned run on 2 hits, walking 3, striking out 4. But the interesting thing to me was his pitch mix. So he used his 2 fastballs just 30% of the time, relying more heavily on his sweeper and a very effective changeup. We saw in his last couple starts, he got roughed up, and he doesn't have the movement and the velocity to blow by guys, but he does have the command and the repertoire and the smarts to be able to work around it when he has his command with him. But it looks like, according to Danny Barand on Twitter, it looks like he has a new pitch, and it's a kick change. His previous changeup had 6 inches of induced vertical break and 18 inches of arm side run with about 2,100 RPM. He threw some changeups in this last PCL start that had a negative 5-inch induced vertical break and a 10-inch arm side run with about 1,100 RPM. So it's less horizontal movement, but way more vertical drop and less spin. So they're just trying to work on something different to give a different look. These guys they draw shapes with their pitches, and they try to get things to crisscross the batter's eyes up.
And that can work. You see with guys like Kyle Hendricks, there's a few pitchers that don't throw hard, and just change up slider, fastball. And then that fastball looks, the 91 and 92, maybe 92 with Kyle, a 91 mile an hour fastball looks like 98 because he's throwing all these off speed and change up and, changing eye levels in speeds. If he can hone that in the Pacific Coast League, there's deeper, it's just deeper depth, God, at the AAA level. Cause he had the one great start. The first start, we're like, that'll do, Hart. That'll do. But then the subsequent couple starts, kind of backed up on him, right? And there was a time when we didn't need that 5th starter, so you brought him down. You bring guys up. So it's great to see that he's got a new pitch and he's figuring it out. And if you can figure it out in the Pacific Coast League, you're going to do well in the major league level, particularly with pitching. All right, so on the screws. Eggy Rosario bounced back with a big week, posting a 1.122 OPS as he hit 389 and reached base 10 times and 21 plate appearances to get his average above the Mendoza line. The 25-year-old also stole 3 bases in as many attempts. Rosario, who became the Chihuahuas' all-time home run leader, which is both a blessing and a curse. A rather dubious honor, it says here, will look to put up a dismal April behind him and play another opportunity at the big league level. Celebration. So Twitter kept going. The record is broken. There it was. That was a tweet from the Abasa Chihuahuas. 49 home runs. 49 home runs breaks the all-time record from Arnold. We had him on once, right?
Oh yeah, we had a great interview with him, talking about pranks and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah. Cody Decker was the Padres minor league home run leader for the longest time, who has moved on to he's doing podcasts, he's doing all kinds of stuff with various, Yahoo, did with Major League Baseball, he did a bunch of stuff. He's doing great on the content level, I guess you'd say, side of things. And he's fun to listen to. But now he's been broken up by Eggy Rosario, who he's 25. Look, he's another one of these guys where you got to find out what you got. And we kind of know what we got with the Campy. We know a little bit of what we got with Eggy, but once again, we always talk about this is we don't have time to figure out if he's got it or not. He's not going to take over third base from Manny. He's not going to take second base from Crone. But we have Iglesias and we have
got Tyler Wade.
We got guys on the major league level. I don't know if Wade has any more options, but like there is room for him potentially this year if he shows enough, and more than anything, if he shows enough from those who make decisions, from Zamo, from Raul Padron, from the organization, that maybe he gets another cup of coffee. Maybe he's just maybe he makes a shot at it next year.
I think right now his status is probably more as a trade piece than anything. But my next note on here, so a celebration about breaking the home run record, but per Jeff Sanders of the Union Tribune, before El Paso's game in Las Vegas, Eggy was sent to the Arizona Complex League for a midseason reset. He's hitting 194, 264, 245 with one homer in 29 games. He was designated for assignment after not making the Padres opening day roster. He cleared waivers and went back to El Paso. So we talked about making it to the mountaintop and then getting pushed off the mountaintop and having your head in your hands. I have a feeling maybe some of that's what's going on with Eggy, that's got to be a tough pill to swallow. So he hit 263, 361, 531 with 21 homers in 91 games last year, but he doesn't look like the same hitter this year.
Right.
So outfielder Tim LaCastro came off the injured list and took his spot on the El Paso roster. Tim LaCastro could be an interesting guy to keep an eye on. He's a little older now, but I knew him as a center fielder coming up with the Mets. Guy gets on base a ton. He can hit. He still has wheels. He can steal a base or two. So I mean, if he catches fire in El Paso, we might see him, in the mix for the left field open audition that we're going to see, I think, in a month or so.
It's open left field night. It's like open mic night for left fielders. You can play. Can you play? I remember watching the Rockies series a couple of weeks back, and like a kid had a poster and it was like, I'm rested, I can pitch. It's just it got really bad.
It's got to be rough being a Rockies fan. By the way, Padres got two managers fired on one road trip.
Yeah.
Derek Shelton got canned in Pittsburgh, and then Bud Black, and he's been there for 10 years now. He got fired in Colorado on the same Padres road trip. So I guess the Padres can check that up on their little bulletin board. But man, it's a couple of rough organizations right there. A couple of ownerships that aren't doing. I mean, we're blessed that we have an ownership here in San Diego that's spending the money to fill the park with talent, and us as fans are doing our part, filling the park with crazy screaming butts in the seats. This is the way you want to see an organization run, where in Colorado and in Pittsburgh, you're seeing a couple of organizations just run at the bottom of the payroll level, and it's reflected in the talent on the field. And then that's reflected in the attendance in two of the nicest stadiums in the game. I feel bad for their fans. And of course, the one that takes the axe is the manager. How can a manager win if the roster isn't competitive?
I remember several years back, there was a pitching coach. I think it was Dom Smith or whatever. And he got fired, and he's like, I can't make filet out of hamburger. Like, you can't, like, you give me this and this is what I got to work with. And you saw the article that came out about the Rockies and their whole organization, the whole scouting department. Like, it's just stuck it's 1990. Like, all these guys in their scouting department in the organization have been with one of these guys is one of the first ever, still an inaugural employee. Like, these guys are so stuck in 1990 with identifying talent and just moving, just developing talent. And the thing is they think they're doing a good job. Like, the article came out, and I think one of the guys had pushback on the article, and it's just, it's one of those things where there's a cognitive dissonance where it's just what's the truth is nowhere near what you think, and what you think is not really the truth, because you're just they're not developing any talent. Everyone gets draft picks. They've been crappy for a while now. So they've had some really high draft picks, but they can't seem to develop those guys. And there's where teams like the Padres, like the Dodgers, like the Cubs, like all these other teams that draft and develop players, you see it in organizations, you just don't see it with the Rockies. You see it with the Pirates, but like you said, two beautiful ballparks. Like I want to go to Pittsburgh and watch one of those games at that beautiful ballpark. Hell, I want to go to Colorado and watch a ball game there. But it's just, that's where those organizations are, and it's sad to see, and it hurts.
Yep.
As a baseball fan,
I've been there. It's a beautiful ballpark. It's in a neat area of town. So to take it home here, El Paso, they're going to have to rename their Player of the Week award. It is the truly Nolan Player of the Week award, but they might as well name it the Luis Campusano Player of the Week award. Last week in 5 games, he had 8 hits, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, a 364 batting average, a 417 on base. So as we were talking about earlier, I have a feeling he's going to get another audition, probably as another DH only kind of a thing. But I mean, you got to figure out how to take that approach and that performance and be able to step into a major league batter's box and just do the same thing. Right. And I mean, you're not going to get the same astronomical results, but at least make some hard contact, put some pressure on the defenses, make the pitcher sweat a little bit. And if he can do that, I think he might be able to earn himself a job.
Yeah, absolutely. When he came up a couple of years ago, and I said this back then, like he was using the whole field. He wasn't crushing the ball the opposite field, but he was putting barrel and he was getting it through the infield and using the whole field, not relying on the home run to show impressive power. If he can get back to that approach, and it's really hard to do that when you're just smoking everything in the PCL, it's hard to change that mindset when you look how far I can hit it, coach, but you got to hit it. And you got to hit it where it's pitched, and you can't pull everything. So it would be nice to see him. I'm still a campy believer. I'm a true believer, although he is, not anyone in Tirso. We're a minor league podcast. We want these guys to succeed, but we're also Padre fans. So as much as we want them to succeed, we need guys that can play. We have spent too long as fans, and this is talking about the whole fan base, with your Solartes, with your, with Amaristas, these guys that they're real fun to be fans of, but they're not that good, and so we get stuck with these lovable losers almost players because we like their personality, and occasionally they'll make a great play, but this is a playoff, possibly World Series, pushing team, and we can't have that mindset anymore.
Yeah, I looked back. Okay, so in 2021, when he had some success, he was pretty much even between pull, center, and oppo. Yeah. This year in AAA, he's pulling the ball 56% of the time, up the middle 24%, going the other way 20%. So the approach has shifted. I know the money is the pull ball in the air, but I mean, you got to be able to spray it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, take us home, Donovan.
We'll talk about spraying it. I need to go make dinner. You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at SD Donovan.
I'm at Zippy_TMS.